I'm reviewing the Amazing Spider-Man movies. There are only two of them. Uh, Sadly, this is the best movie Spider-Man franchise we got. How are they? Mediocre. Average. Okay, fine. 5 out of 10, both, I give them. Story, a little convoluted. Okay, very as convoluted as the previous three were. How's Spider-Man? Well, he's played by Andrew Garfield this time. He's a lot better in the second one than he was in the first one, but the suit is a lot more better in the first one, personally, I think, and has more personality than the second suit had in the Amazing Spider-Man 2. The first one came out in 2012, and the Amazing Spider-Man 2, titled The Amazing Spider-Man 2, whereas the first one was just titled The Amazing Spider-Man. So the sequel came out a few years later, in 2014. Aside of having really cool, famous villains that really don't get that get pretty much minimum amount of screen time and not really fleshed out, sort of like the past Spider-Man, first three Spider-Man movies, with the villains that got really fleshed out, and there's really not much to them outside of a really cool design in terms of personality. Sort of like the first three Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. I will say the second one tells a more fucking loaded Kalam for Luke story like the first three predecessors with Maguire. However, however, that's kind of a bit of a downfall in terms of the quality, because I see the reason why people hated this one, people that hated and devised about this one, well, for certain reasons I can see why, because in terms of story, it's a serious drop in quality in terms of storytelling. The sequel, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and compared to the first one, which told the least convoluted story out of all the Spider-Man movies before Spider-Man Homecoming came out. That told the best three-act structure out of any other Spider-Man movie. But the problem is, Spider-Man, before he becomes Spider-Man, while he's still hunting down his Uncle Ben killer, we have to see a lot of awkward scenes with him pretending to be black gangster while he's going through grief and hunting down his Uncle Ben, and then until before he drops all that, he's kind of you kind of want to punch him, because you just don't want him to stop. You just want him to stop pretending to be fucking black, because he's a white guy. He doesn't have the right to act like a black thug. That's a stereotype in black culture. Andrew Garfield tries to pull it off. And that's what Andrew Garfield's performance comes across when he's going through his Uncle Ben's grief and going through all this anger and grief. Then he slowly gets over that as he gets more into the three-act structure. Then he drops off that vengeance, the vendetta, and hunting for Uncle Ben's killer once the Lizard comes in, who's Dr. Connor is injecting himself with lizard DNA to regrow his arm, but something went wrong. He mutated into a lizard and now can't really think rationally. Sure, he can mutate back into a lizard, but I guess I would say this is very different from the comic, because Lizard, once he becomes Lizard, he just stays that way and has to find a cure to reverse the effect of mutation, the irrational thinking, and not thinking like himself. Here, he can turn back to Clark Connors, but he's sort of addicted to injecting himself with Liz's DNA into turning him into a full-grown wild animal lizard thing. And it's sort of the tree is some sort of a heroin addiction or something. And the movie opens up the same place where the sequel starts off. His parents dying. Peter's parents and getting leave with his Uncle Ben and Aunt May. While finding out they were really secret agents and working for Oscorp and were going to dispose of Oscorp, but something went wrong. Plane crash, having supposedly to die. This leads to seeing that Uncle Ben that his father didn't die, and he gives the line with great power comes great responsibility. This happens in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And the lead scene I just talk about is the same movie, it's the lead scenes from the same movie. And that's as much as forward thinking as we got for in terms of plot details in the sequel of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Once Spider-Man shows on screen, it just goes fucking apeshit to the wall bonkers. It goes, let's get cuckoo! Like the first 3 Spider-Man movies got cuckoo. In terms of plot details and consistency, sucking at it. Including Spider-Man's behavior. Like, 15 minutes he'll joke for 15 minutes in the costume, and 15 minutes later he will stop, then go back, reverse reverse again, and he will do the same thing as Peter Parker persona. And in the second one, it looks like he doesn't know how to shut the Spider-Man it looks like it's like the Spider-Man forgotten how to play the role of Peter Parker and not giving away the obvious that he's Spider-Man, considering he jokes even outside the costume constantly, as maybe more constantly than when he's in the costume in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Oh boy. Yikes. And his jokes are just as bad and also funny. And, you know, like you see when he's having playful fun, making the security guys look like idiots. But I guess he didn't know that was an Oscorp building that he was in, and those were security guys. Because here's the thing: people with security guys usually have security cameras, as in they're going to see you using tricks with your webs to get the coffee mug. You idiot! Just to help Gwen out of a problem after you dumped her. And then she says, I dumped you. You can't dump me. I dumped you. I'm tired with your bull crap. Because I'm an independent woman. An American woman. That's actually how the breakup goes. Minus the dialogue I just basically said, but that's how the tone of breakup goes. And like the free processes with Maguire, the sequel in terms of tone of the story and also the characters is all fucking over the place and inconsistent. It's like, my god, you're really trying to get the Sam Raimi films on board for this franchise. Can't you just say, fuck the Sam Raimi films, just do your own thing? No! Whereas we need to squeeze as much money out of this cow as possible. For us, Spider-Man is just a hooker without any love. We don't love him, we just want to make money off of that hooker. And keep the money mostly for ourselves, our pockets. Just like all the other Spider-Man movies before, the movies went to and after. In live action. Even the Avengers movies. And the Captain America movie where he made his debut and then say really now I will say I forgot what I was saying. I just remember Jamie Foxx is blue, his Gap gets fixed in his carries to drums to the seals. I mean, leeches that electrocuted him and turned him into electros. This is in the sequel, and Green Goblin's in the sequel, played by Harry Osborn, and who Hyrule becomes the Green Goblin after being best friends with Peter, having a bromance together, talking about his girlfriend, hinting at it, blah, blah, blah. Gwen dies by Green Goblin because Spider-Man couldn't save her. He caught her too soon. I mean, yeah, too soon, close to the ground. And he goes for grief. He gets over his grief and rises to the occasion to take on the Rhino and realize that Spider-Man is still needed. The world needs Spider-Man, and it's all due to Gwen Stacy's death, giving her, while he's like looking at her graduation video for a grand speech that lifts Spider-Man's spirits up and helps him deal with his grief, and by pushing to be Spider-Man again, and because instead of getting destroyed by his grief, he's getting lifted up by his grief, because that ends on a cliffhanger. And what happens to the first one is after Spider-Man drops the act of being a tough guy and going for his gives up the vendetta of going for his Uncle Ben killer, and only to lie and like constantly teasing him, lying to himself that he's actually a hero when the cop points out that's Gwen's father, that he's just a fucking vigilante going on some sort of vendetta and not really saving anyone or doing any good. And he learns from wisdom that he actually got, what Peter said about Spider-Man. It doesn't know it's Peter Spider-Man, and he hears people in trouble on a bridge and sees Lizard thing that is Dr. Connors after he turns into Lizard for the first time in the movie. And he decides to drop the act and start acting like a fucking hero with his balls. And swings in the ashtray and kicks ass, and Lizard gets away because he has to save the kid that's going to die over the bridge. Because the car's going to fall over the bridge. So he encourages the kid to by giving his kid on tour by removing his mask, saying that he's just a normal guy, and asks if you want to hold this and give the kid the mask, saying it will give him courage, by saying it will make him strong. That's what he means by that. And the car drops, and for some reason he at the last minute, when that's happening, all the things you've seen the kids want to get like dead and drown, and so he's going to lose the mask and have to make a new costume and stuff. He just sweeps the kid out of the vehicle from falling and drowning. Why didn't he just do something like that before? I have no fucking idea. Probably because it was in the script. And they wanted to do that tearjerker moment to win the audience over for this version of Spider-Man. Just like they wanted to do with killing Uncle Ben to give a tearjerker moment, even though they barely got to know each other in the first one. And see how much they care about each other in the first one from 2002. Is to win the audience over for this version of the character. That's why they did that on the bridge, I bet. In the 2012 Spider-Man movie. The one I'm talking about now. With Garfield. And he acknowledged his name and comes up with the name Spider-Man. Without any inspiration from his Uncle Ben's wisdom, or he never even thought of it. He just thought of it on the top of his head and says it so heavily, dramatically, and swings off. And this is where the movie starts going downhill. Because everything has to be dramatic and graceful, blah, 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 blah. I slapped you in the face, Tom. And this, he continues to date. He just tries performing cons to the cops. They don't believe him. Blah blah blah. He's going to help them out to get out of the building, and stays in the building for some reason to fight Connors off, and also make sure everyone else stays. Just make sure everyone else stays in the building, but didn't want to get out of the building, or so just want to make sure everyone else gets out and stays in the building. Even Peter wanted her to get out of the building because Connors was on the way, and because she's this independent woman dumbass. Because that's how women are. They're all courage and no brains or common sense. Dumbass independent woman. American woman. Fuck feminism. This is the best they got. I mean, this is stupid. So yeah, that seems stupid. After that scene, he swings with getting shot, and then instead of webbing his wound and webbing it up, he waits for the people to help him. The construction field help him at the last minute. This one, all things lost. Except there was no hope was lost because there's plenty of buildings around you, you idiot! You can web to those buildings. You're fucking Spider-Man. You will stick to anything with those webs. As long as you have something to stick to. But no, we have that discretion to be able to help him make his perfect fucking line for him to swing off and stuff. Yeah? It just doesn't make any sense. So yeah, he swings to the building, and then stops Connors, has backup, has Gwen's father backs him up, and father saves Gwen, tells her to get out, and gets her out of there, and gives the antidote to Peter while he's fighting Kirk Connors and shooting him. Gwen's father gets stabbed by Kirk Connors and dies after Peter switches the antidote within the machine and lets the thing go off and turn everybody into humans, back into humans instead of lizards, people. After Kirk Connors turned, and that was his plan, he's putting to turn everyone into mindless fucking lizards. That was wild and kill everyone. It's by each other. That was his grand plan, and Peter stopped it and turned everything that was got turned to lizards back into human with human DNA. He used to reverse engineer. Not really explaining how he reverse engineer the thing, the cure, and to make the cure. Anyway, the day is saved. Father is dead. Gwen's father is dead. Peter doesn't come to his funeral in person, out in the open, but more in the shadows. out of plain sight. That's why Gwen shows up on his doorstep to confront him about not coming. Because everyone else came. Except for Peter. When she did come, he was just in the background coming. Away from the crowd. Like a shadowy figure in the night. Because he is Batman. Wait, he's Spider-Man. He's Spider-Man. There. So, am I the one who knows that this movie and also the sequel to this movie and also the three predecessors before this movie of the Spider-Man movies before this one, the three Spider-Man movies before this one of the original trilogy, in the original trilogy, the three in the original trilogy, the first two ones, at least in the original trilogy, they still know if they want to make a Spider-Man film or a Batman film, and I know one thinks that. And also, No Way Home did this. No Way Home looks like it's going to do the same thing after seeing the fucking trailer. Just like Far From Home did the same thing. Doesn't know if it wants to be a Bat movie or a spy movie. Just when Homecoming finally right the wrongs of the past. And then Far From Home is shit on it. The legacy once again just to kick the whole dead horse into the ground. And then somehow make the least Spider-Man movie out of all the Spider-Man movies of the Spider-Man movies. That one show if they wanted to be make him into Batman or make him into Spider-Man like in the comics. But try doing Dragon Balls and everyone loses. Sometimes. Most of the time everyone wins. The fans do, but I don't, because I'm the fan of the comics, not of the movie, so fuck you, fans! Stupid Spider-Man fans need to die. Over the movies and the comics. The comics are awesome. Spider-Man was awesome in the comics, not in the movies. He sucks. In all freaking movie franchises. He's a fucking disappointment. Fuck Spider-Man. He's the worst comic movies. He doesn't just make the worst comics, he makes the worst fucking movies. He has the worst fucking track record next to fucking M. Night Shyamalan. Maybe even worse track record, actually, I think. Fuck Spider-Man. So yeah, after that rant, so yeah, Gwen confronts him, blah blah blah. He teased that Gwen's going to get back together with him, and he's going to win her back and get her back into his life, blah blah blah. And convinces himself that he's good enough for Gwen, but due to the words of his Aunt May, and saying fuck his father, fuck at the front to Gwen's dying father. And swings off into action as Spider-Man. And that is the end of the movie. But wait, the end credits. There's something after the end credits. 12 minutes or 15 minutes into the end credits. That this shadowy figure talking to Kirk Connors as he kept Keith safe in prison. What kind of prison? The same prison that imprisons Harry Osborn and Electro for the Sinister Six that they want Spider to face in the future films, but never got around to. Yeah, this gets a 5 out of 5, just like the sequel. I'm not going to act like I don't get enjoyment out of these movies. I do, but I'm sick of this being mildly entertained and invested from Spider-Man so many times. I mean, I got two good... One, just Spider-Man movie, that's Spider-Man 3. With Maguire. Tom Maguire, fuck. From 2007, that's the only good spy movie I got. Until Homecoming is, I guess, remastered into proper aspect ratio, where we'll fix the color and make it look right. And not so crammed together. Spider-Man 3, I guess, is going to give you the best I got in live action, first live action Spider-Man movies. I hate my life. This sucks. So yeah, until the day Spider-Man Homecoming comes out on Blu-ray and the proper aspect ratio on physical format and fixes the and makes the color not muffled again anymore by making the color in all the right places, and so that day 2000 Spider-Man 3 is the best I'm going to get for a live action Spider-Man adaptation out of all of them. Too bad I don't like the first two with Maguire's. The problem with those ones is the same problem, except much stale, acting like a stale fucking ship with Maguire's ones, the first two ones. At least the first two ones with Andrew Garfield. I had the first two ones with Andrew Garfield. Had the acting was at least decent half of the time. As in good.